This documentary skims the surface of what many in BC's social service area believe is a much deeper social issue. We will hear what an urban Aboriginal woman calls a harrowing tale of what she claims to have endured when she found herself and her baby at a place called Maxxine Wright. The story investigates the very different approaches to recovery, abstinence, and harm reduction, and the controversy created by the latest new method.
When I first went to Maxxine Wright, the first night, I was so scared. I was so broken and bruised. Being in that place, I didn't put my daughter down once. I was intimidated to the point that I was in psychosis.
Yo-Yo is a young single mother trying to get off drugs and escape an abusive relationship. She's talking about her life at the Maxxine Wright Center, BC's first women's shelter to practice harm reduction. It's a model that allows residents to continue using drugs.
I had to leave my doors closed and locked because this girl would sit outside my door and wait for me to open the door. The windows only opened up about 1.5 inches, and I couldn't even open my windows because she threatened to bear mace my house with me and my child in. I had another girl cut my screen in my bedroom window while me and my daughter were sleeping in there with a crack pipe, saying that threatening to cut both of our throats while we were sleeping. I felt very isolated. I hid in my house. I never came out.
We talked to a crisis intervention worker at a First Nations outreach center. While she did not wish to be identified, as both her organization and Maxxine Wright receive funds from the same government ministry, she did say that the problems discussed are not out of the ordinary.
Anytime you put a bunch of women who are street entrenched or have been living in an abusive lifestyle and you put them into one area together, there's going to be major conflict.
Yo-Yo says the problems seem out of control at times.
It was harm reduction, and it got so bad that staff were literally, girls would drop off their kids with staff and go downstairs, go get a clean needle, go sit in the bathroom, and the staff would watch the kids until they came out.
So for a place like Maxxine Wright, where it's for women who are either street entrenched or fleeing abuse and they have a child under the age of 4, if they're going to be using, they want to make sure that the children are safe while the mom is out using. So they have it set up so that if the woman is going to go out and use, that their child is being properly looked after, whether it be with staff or be it with another mother that's at the center.
Grandpa Roberts is a Métis elder who runs a drug and alcohol-free center. He doesn't believe that Maxxine Wright is on the right track either.
They don't observe maybe the needle going into the arm, but they observe the after effects of the mother nodding off when they're trying to take care of the kid.
Because we've heard in the community that staff have been using drugs with the clientele. Again, that's just what we've heard, but because of that, we have chosen not to recommend Maxxine Wright to our clients. It's not something that we're gonna even take the chance on. If the stuff that the clients are telling us is true, we're not gonna put them into that situation. We don't know for a fact that staff are using with the clients, but if we've heard it from a few people, it's enough for us to say, you know what, there's other places out there that we could send them. So Maxxine Wright's not going to be our first choice.
There is no way I'd refer anybody to Maxxine Wright. From the horror stories I've heard, everything from prostitution to drug abuse and drug dealing. I run a second stage house, and a lot of the women that have come through as people that out of AA or NA and things like that, they say no. There's no way you're going in there because it's just hotbed of drugs.
We went to Maxxine Wright Community Health Center and talked to coordinator Laura Parsons.
My feeling, given the way that you're approaching your questions, is just to make no comment at all.
Has there ever been any investigation or any kind of thing involving staff and drug use with clients?
Well, as I say, I'm not in a position to discuss any of this with you.
Again, for Yo-Yo, the problems are crystal clear.
There's obvious signs of abuse to the harm reduction program. There's obvious drug dealing on the property. There's obvious prostitution picking up and all sorts of things going on. It's 24-hour staff. It's 24-hour surveillance. And they told me that they couldn't do anything about it because if the police were to go on there and try and subpoena them, they would have to go through a process.
Bringing police in can be a trigger for these women, so I imagine that that's kind of a last resort. They try to deal with it on their own.
Sarah Louie is the program manager for Maxxine Wright. While she refused to go on record, she did send us an email.
She wrote, "Abstinence approaches and harm reduction approaches are based on very different sets of assumptions. Abstinence-based programming requires commitment to no use of substances of any kind, something that many find too difficult, particularly while in crisis. Harm reduction models, on the other hand, recognize and accept that this requirement can produce barriers to assistance of any kind and ultimately safety for women and children. We believe that by supporting mothers from a strength-based, anti-oppressive, feminist approach, women and mothers are strengthened. We find that when mothers feel safe and supported, they are able to keep their children safe and supported. In other words, if it is in the mother's best interests, then it is in the best interest of her children."
During our investigation, we contacted Fraser Health. We contacted Ministry of Children and Family Services, none of which wanted to take direct responsibility for Maxxine Wright. However, during the grand inauguration, Premier Christy Clark had this to say.
It is a place that will change lives. So the facilities and services this center offers women and children who are at risk will play a significant role in helping us address the issue of homelessness in our community. It's offering a full range for women of services. The center is truly one of a kind in this province.
Maxxine Wright may have been started with good intentions, and as Premier Christy Clark says, it has changed lives. The question is, has it changed them for the better? And where do you see yourself in a year from now?
With my child, clean. I think my light bulb finally clicked and I realized that I can address my issues, I can address my resources. It's just about learning how to build my own barriers and coping skills and communication skills.
With a great deal of help from the Aboriginal Outreach Center, she is now out of Maxxine Wright, clean, sober, and well on her way to independent living.